Okay, now start for our principle 2, that is the cost of something is what you give up to get it, which means decisions required comparing cost and benefits of the alternatives. So remember, our first principle was that people face trade-off, means there are two options, or and then you have to choose one and you have to forgo the others. Or there are three options, you have to choose one, then you forgo the two options. And now the second principle is that you are discussing the cost of those options that are foregone, right? So decisions require comparing costs and benefits of the alternatives. So think about that. Whether to go to college, consider the cost. What are the costs? So the costs are tuition fees, books, accommodation, food cost, and the biggest one is the time. So whether to study or go out on a date, it involves the trade-off and what are the costs. Whether to go to the class or sleep, there are two trade-offs, yes, and what are the cost of foregone option, right? So the other foregone option that you forgo, we call that opportunity cost, right? So the cost of what you pay to obtain that item, right? So opportunity costs are also called the cost of foregone opportunity. So here, for example, the date cost you $30. So you forgo that date option and you come to the college for study. So foregone cost or opportunity cost is $30. Or whether to go to sleep or go to the class. So what are the costs? For example, your sleeping cost, which is hard to measure. Let's say that it is $40, and you are comparing the cost. And for example, you are about the class, and class per class, for example, is $100. So you pay for the class and you forgo this sleep. That means this sleep is your opportunity cost, right? So I hope many of you already know this Kobe Bryant. Unfortunately, he died in helicopter crash. May his soul rest in peace. So he chose to skip the college and go straight from high school to pros, where he has earned millions of dollars. So what are the benefits? He earned millions of dollars, right? And worldwide reputation. What are the cost? Drop the education. So what is it? What is his opportunity cost? His opportunity cost is dropping the education, right? Our number third principle is that rational people think at the margin. So economists assume that people are rational. So what do we mean by rational and irrational, or rationality versus irrationality? So rational people who systematically and purposefully do the best they can achieve their objectives. For example, you want to buy a laptop, so you go through systematic process. For example, you compare the you first of all you list down the competitors. We have Dell, we have Asus, we have Surface, we have Apple, right? And then second, you note down the prices. Fourth, third one, you choose according to your budget, right? So it means you are following some kind of process. So this is called rationality. So same behavior is also done by firms. How? Firms chooses best decision between how many workers should hire and how much to manufacture and sell to maximize the profit. So it means there is some kind of system or systematic and purposeful order here. So we call this rationality. Similarly, customers, they buy goods subject to their income. You have to see your budget as well, and the prices to get maximum satisfaction, like we just see in our laptop example. So this is called rationality. Where irrationality means like impulse buying. You go to the shop, you want to buy laptops, you pay the money, you didn't go through any systematic process, You did not see any other brand, other options, price competitiveness. You just go and buy the stuff. This is called irrational behavior. So decisions in life are rarely black and white. What does it mean? For example, you want to buy pen or simple blue pen, ballpoint. You go to the shop, you just buy them. So you are not going to find out how many competitors the shopkeeper has, what are the price differences, and what are the size, how much, it will, runs. For example, the pen gonna, write 500 pages or 200 pages maximum. So what are its expiry, like this kind of stuff. It means it's a rational decision or irrational. Of course, it is irrational. So rational, decisions are done when you want to buy, which is some stuff, or when you want to buy costly item, like buying jewelry, buying expensive shoes, buying a house, buying a car, buying a laptop, right? Like choosing which college you want to go. All these decision makings, we call them that these are rational decision making. And people want to buy, stuff which are not very costly. Like you go to a restaurant, you want to order lunch or ramen. So you don't see the brands, you don't see the some specific restaurants or something. You just buy. You go to the nearest shop near the university or somewhere very close, and you just order ramen and you just eat that one. That is called irrational behavior, right? So rational people would just define that one. And now think as margin. What do we mean by margin? So marginal changes are small, additional, or incremental adjustments to an existing plan of actions. So just remember one thing, that margin means, or marginal means, marginal means additional, incremental. So we're gonna see its example, but let's learn the tagline, that is, people make decisions by comparing costs and benefits at the margin. What does it mean? So let's see an example here, that a plane flight cost is 100,000. For example, plane is flying from Shanghai to Beijing. So the cost is $100,000. A total 200 seats and 190 seats are sold at 700. So there are 200 seats. So what are the average cost? It is 500. How 500 came from? We have 100,000 total cost divided by the 200 seats. So average cost is 500, and 190 seats are sold at 700. So what does it mean? It means how much is the revenue? 190 multiplied by 700, $133,000, right? So we still have 10 seats that are vacant, and one person came and said, I'm gonna pay you $300 if you can take me from Shanghai to Beijing. What is a layman approach? You will say that, what? No way. Why? Because my average is 500 and you are paying me $300. Still 200 less than my average cost, right? So this is a layman approach. This is not the rational person approach. So the rational person approach is that they will do some systematic analysis. And what are the systematic analysis? You see that your cost is already covered. How? Your cost is 100,000 and your revenue is $133,000. It means you are still getting $33,000 profit, right? What if you take that person? What are the additional cost? If we give you $300, what are the additional costs? The additional cost may be some peanuts or some soda cans, some chips, crackers, right? So which is of course less than $300, right? You take that opportunity and what happened? Your sales increase by $300, and also your profit will be increased by, for example, let's see, the cost of the soda can and all those peanuts are just $10. So you just add $290 to your profit. See, even though your average cost is 500, even then your profit increased by 290. Why? Because you already cover your cost and you are on above your cost, $133,000. So that's why even issuing tickets at 300 gonna give you profit of 290 if $10 are the additional cost, right? Okay, let's move to our fourth principle, that is people respond to incentives. The famous one is tax on gasoline versus type of transportation. So what if there is a low tax on transportation, on gasoline? So will people use public transport or use their personal car? Definitely, when the gasoline prices decrease, people want to travel with their own cars. And what happened? It will increase the use of gasoline, and people will drive more. And what about the taxes on gasoline increases? Then the cost of traveling through their own personal cars gonna rise, and then people switch to public transport. So it means people respond to incentives. So that there is a famous example that mentioned in your book, that is black rhinos. So in 1970 there are 65,000 black rhinos in the world, and now there are 4,000. And why is that? Because of the horn. So why people killed black rhinos? Because the horn is a powerful aphrodisiac and fever reducer, and the black market, it was like selling at 30,000 US dollar. So people respond to incentives to get those 30,000 US dollar. They start killing the black rhinos, and now in the world they are just 4,000.